Okay, so picture this, retiring at 49 with 20 grand a month coming in from passive income. Sounds impossible, right? Well, that's exactly what John Soforic did. And here's the thing, no lottery, no rich uncle, just a smart, disciplined path that pretty much anyone can follow. He laid it all out in his book, The Wealthy Gardener, for his son. And today, we're going to break down the key ideas.
You know, this quote right here is basically the entire philosophy in a nutshell. It's not about getting rich quick. It's about the small things you do every single day, the seeds you're planting that are going to determine how big your harvest is down the road. It's all about playing the long game.
All right, so here's our game plan. We're going to walk through 5 big ideas. First, why you got to plant your seeds first. Second, how to go from being a consumer to an owner. Third, why building wealth is actually a noble thing to do. Fourth, rejecting your current situation. And finally, figuring out your own financial season.
Let's dive right into principle number 1. Plant your seeds first. The book makes a really bold claim. It says the biggest thing holding you back from getting wealthy isn't the stock market or your job. It's you. It's all about your own habits.
Now this sounds kind of simple, but it is so powerful. It's a straight line. The habits you set up today, the little routines you do without thinking, they are literally building the foundation for your entire financial future. Your habits really do create your destiny.
So that leads to a huge question you have to ask yourself. Why? I mean, really, why do you want this? Because let's be honest, life is full of distractions. And if you don't have a really powerful personal reason driving you, it is way too easy to just give up.
I love this from Charlie Munger. His why wasn't about the flashy cars or the fancy toys. It was about independence. It was about freedom. And that is the kind of deep motivation that will actually get you through the hard times.
And this is what that freedom really looks like in practice. The book calls them the 4 freedom multipliers. See, it's not just about not having to work. It's about having total control. The freedom to choose what you do, when you do it, where you do it, and maybe most important of all, who you do it with. That's the real win.
So you've got your why. What's the very first habit you need to build? It's this one. Pay yourself first. All this means is you have to create a gap between what you earn and what you spend. I mean, think about it. A banker making 300 grand a year who spends it all is just as broke as a dishwasher. That's surplus, that's everything.
All right, this brings us to our second principle, and this one is a massive identity shift. It's about stopping being just a consumer and starting to think and act like an owner. This is where things get really exciting.
It's really this simple. A consumer buys a can of Monster energy drink. An owner buys shares in the company that makes Monster energy drinks. So now, every time someone buys that drink, a tiny piece of that money flows back to you. You've officially switched from just spending money to having your money work for you.
So how do you do it? Well, the book lays out 3 main paths to becoming an owner. You can buy stocks, which is owning pieces of companies. You can buy real estate, owning physical property, or you can build your very own business.
And here is where the magic really kicks in. It's called compounding. Once you start owning assets, they create a little bit of income. You can then use that income to buy more assets, which creates even more income. I love this analogy from the book. It's like you're a big fish in a small pond. You get more food, so you get bigger, which helps you get even more food. Your growth just starts to snowball.
Okay, on to our third principle. And this one tackles a belief that a lot of us have, that wanting money is greedy or bad. The Wealthy Gardener just completely flips that idea on its head and says, no, building financial security is one of the most noble things you can do. This quote just says it all, doesn't it? Money isn't about luxury. It's like oxygen. You don't even notice it when it's there, but when it's gone, it's the only thing you can think about. And to really drive this home, the book tells this incredibly powerful story about a guy named Brian.
So Brian had what everyone would call a good life. A nice middle-class setup, a job he'd been at for 12 years. He was the only one earning money, but things were stable. He felt safe, he was comfortable, he didn't see any reason to really push to save more.
But that feeling of security was just an illusion. When the financial crisis hit, his whole world just imploded. The job was gone, and just like that, his family's only source of income disappeared. The solid ground he thought he was standing on just vanished. What came next was just 3 years of absolute hell. He was working from dusk till dawn, taking any job he could find just to keep his family afloat. Imagine living with that constant grinding fear every single day. That's what a lack of financial oxygen feels like.
So here's the point. When Brian finally got back on his feet, his view of money was changed forever. It wasn't about status anymore. It was a tool, a shield. It was a way to get rid of that fear, to help his kids and his parents, and to make sure the people he loved were never in that vulnerable position again. It let him be the dependable person he wanted to be. And that's absolutely a noble pursuit.
This connects perfectly to our fourth principle, which is all about your personal standards. It's about making a conscious decision to reject what's just okay and demand something better for yourself.
The book asks this really blunt question, and the idea behind it is simple but profound. You don't get what you want, you get what you're willing to tolerate. If you tolerate being in debt or stuck in a dead-end job, that's probably where you'll stay. The first step to changing your life is to stop tolerating it.
And that brings us to our fifth and final principle. This is all about having patience and understanding that building wealth happens in different stages, or, as the book calls them, seasons. Think of it like this. Your 20s, that's spring. You're learning, developing skills, planting those first seeds. Then from your 30s to your 60s, you're in summer. That's your peak time for earning, investing, and watching everything grow like crazy. And after 60, you enter fall. That's your harvest. That's when you get to relax and enjoy everything you've built. The whole key is to know which season you're in and just focus on doing the work of that season.
So let's just quickly recap the path from the wealthy gardener. 1. Build the right habits and know your why. 2. Become an owner, not just a consumer. 3. Remember that wealth is a noble tool for security. 4. Stop accepting mediocrity and demand more. And 5. Be patient and know your financial season.
So I'll just leave you with this one final question. After hearing all of this, what's one thing you're going to do? What is the one small seed, whether it's a new habit, a new idea, or just a little bit of knowledge that you are going to plant today?